But that being said, again, that's the difference between having competition training and regular classes. Regular classes, everybody should be able to do it. Everybody should have fun with the art and the sport, and play a game. Just play a game. In the competition class, kill or be killed. That's the environment it has to be. But that being said, you need to have, I've said this a million times, it's a kill or be killed attitude when it comes to technique, right? But after training is done, these are your best friends. You have to really care for the training partners. You have to build these friendships, these bonds, right? Super important. You can't build animosity. You can't have negativity. It's just gonna ruin the training area, right?
Well, people start getting hurt. Things get
You,
addictive. You need to trust everyone.
yeah, yeah. So you need to trust people. Obviously, like, if you're going hard, but these are the things. I'm trying to beat you up, but not hurt you. There's a
Yeah.
difference. You know what I mean? I'm putting it on you, but my intent is to get the submission, or to get the control, or to get the position. My intent is not to break your arm. My intent is not to
Yeah.
put you to sleep every time. You know what I mean? But ultimately, that's also your responsibility to tap.
Right. Right.
So it's important to set these environments, because that's what it takes to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the sport of jiu-jitsu is getting more and more competitive, more and more challenging, more and more difficult to be successful at. And you need to create these environments. And it's pressure cooker, man. Like, it really is. Every person that's ever been successful in any combat sport will tell you, "Oh, training was so hard," or this and that. Like, yeah,
So you need to
that's
go
the
through the
way it should be.
fires. You hear stories about like DC crying, like not crying, but like actually no, there was a story. There was a case where he was like crying in the practice room after one guy made some bad comments or something. It's like, yeah, if you're training that hard with that much emotion on the line, it's like it's tough to say the least. You touched on something really
No, but
interesting.
that's one thing I learned early on, and I'm just trying to
Mhm.
educate the young people out there who are starting in the sport, or are just like really getting into it. And that's don't take training personal.
Yeah.
As individuals, like, don't build animosity towards this particular person, unless they're asshole. If you're an asshole, then, man, then get rid of those people in your academy. Like, seriously. But if the guy's just better than you, then they're just better than you. You need to improve your skill set. You need to get better. You need to look in the mirror and go, "Hey, it's me. I'm the one that needs to make the moves and the adjustments, and to push back, and to go after them."
Mm.
But man, I've had training sessions with some of these guys, back in the day, with like Monkey and Justin, and there was like, I always went home. I never went home going, "Oh God, man, I hate that guy," or, "Man, I can't wait to beat that guy." It was more like, "Man, I made this mistake. How could he caught me? How can I not get caught again? Oh man, I made this. He took my back. What did he do? Can I correct it? Can I fix it?" It was I didn't I tried not to build animosity, because it just festers, and eventually you have problems and you have issues. Like, I loved my training partners, man. I love those guys, man. I cared about them. I wanted to. It was a collective, in the sense that we all wanted to see each other succeed, but we understood that we needed to beat each other up too.
It's a weird
And it
dynamic.
was good. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I think, trying to replicate that has been challenging, for sure.
Mm.
Like,
It's
but
yeah.
again, it's you need to. Again, it trickles down, right? The guy at the top needs to set up the proper environments,
Mm.
and to foster those kinds of ideals and value systems and things like that. And that's something
It's
I think that doesn't get discussed enough, and I wish I could talk about more about, like, there's no, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm a martial artist. I'm a martial artist." No, you're a sportsman. You're an athlete. Because with martial arts comes a certain code of ethics, a certain code of behavior, and I don't think that's being educated. Like, when you come to class, Michael,
yeah.
is say, let's see, what can we bring up? What can we talk about? Say, kindness. Is
Yes.
that ever discussed in class?
No, not really. Like I mean, like Like,
right?
no, not really. It's not like something you bring up deliberately or anyone brings up deliberately.
Or loyalty, honor, all these things that benevolence, all
No, no,
this,
no,
like, none of this gets brought up in class,
no,
right?
no.
But it's a code of ethics. Maybe
Oh,
it should
interesting.
be. Maybe it should be brought up in class.
So I
Why is it?
say, yeah.
Listen, why is it only on the kids class that we have these mat chats where we try to educate these kids how to be better human beings?
I'll fight you on that in the
Why
sense
aren't
that
we having?
adults aren't as adults don't like doing that. Everyone wants to kind of have run by their own agenda, so to speak.
Yeah, but why shouldn't adults be educated on better behavior?
I don't actually have a good retort to that. I think you're on. I think you're on the same page. It's just I guess you brought it up before too. The ego. The ego comes into play.
Yeah, but I'm not
Yeah.
trying to like. I'm just. It's
No, no, I
education.
get you. I
It's
feel
not
you.
like I'm not. It's more about, oh, here's what this means. It's up to you to take it in or not. You know what I mean? So if I have, if I have a talk on the mat about good sportsmanship, for example,
Mm.
right? That's not talked about, right? In training.
Mm-hmm. You know, there's
Have
a
you ever
moment
had a
yeah.
conversation about being a good sportsman? As far as like, hey, shake your opponent's hand after, be respectful to the referees, like certain behaviors.
No, you showed
You
me
know what I
and
mean?
you showed me after a match. Actually, I remember the moment too. It was Grappling Industries, and I thought I was eliminated, and I got the bronze medal match, and I won by ankle lock, and I was really hyped up, and I was going to about to do a big celly, and then like I remember looking at you, and you immediately you were happy. You were like, and I was like, okay,
Tone it
right,
down.
exactly. Like
Tone it
no,
down.
in that moment,
Tone it
that's
down.
sportsmanship, right? Like don't explode and like make an ass of yourself, right? I know you're
Because
hyped up,
like,
but control your emotions. That's not
yeah, it's super
disgusting, bro.
important. Controlling your emotions is super important, right? It shows character. It shows a certain level of control,
Yeah.
right? People just look at that and they're gonna be like, "Man, that kid's got it together," right? You know what I mean? Like, it just brings you up on another level psychologically, I think. And it's good, man. Man, I listen. If you're winning a world title and you've been working your whole life for that, I could understand you being emotional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can understand you celebrating. You know what I mean? I've celebrated in my matches, but I was always very polite to my opponents.
Yeah.
Like, I would celebrate, but then I would go and shake their hand, say thank you, give them a hug, whatever. You know what I mean? Hey, see you at the next tournament. No,
And
it's no hard
that's
for
yeah.
me. It's no hard feelings,
Yeah.
man. For me, it's competition. I just want to win, right? It's a personal journey. I like, you know what I mean? I don't hate anybody. I just want to win.
No, totally.
Anyway, it's
Oh,
like,
that's
again, it's just one of those things. Do you want to implement these kind of things in your curriculum or not? Like, do you talk about values? Do you talk about like the Bushido, right? The code of the samurai, right? So I'm curious about these things. It's not even that. Like, every warrior nation had a code, right, that they would follow. The like we hear about the knights and chivalry, right?
mm-hmm.
And how they behaved a certain way, and and even like I said, even the Hans, the Attila had a certain code of ethics that he expected his guys to follow, right? And they were so. It's cool, man. I'm curious to whether or not I should be implementing some of these things in my adult classes, at least maybe in the novice classes, or even in
Yeah.
competition where you talk about some of these things to not just here's the thing, like, how do you reinforce the spirit and the mind? Because everybody's
Mm-hmm.
just physical, 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 right? It's very much physical, the training, but how do you like reinforce some mindsets, or how do you work on your spirit, like the breathing, the stretching, right? These things to improve certain things. And,
I think you're on a really
having
good
so much time in my hands, I've gone through a few really deep rabbit holes.
yeah. Especially for new competitors, especially like I think you're actually on a really good like a really good path here in the sense that how do you deal with failure? Like a lot of people think they're like really like I can handle hard situations, like, and then they get into their first competition or hell even their first role, and then just absolutely getting manhandled right in front of a lot of people. How do you? For some people that's crushing, But if there's some sort, if there's
Oh
a
yeah, no,
yeah,
absolutely.
a
Listen,
once
for
a week, yeah.
me, everybody, I get asked this question all the
Mhm,
time,
mhm.
um, often in interviews or speaking with certain people about that. How do you deal with the mental game? And honestly, like nothing beats building confidence than results,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So nothing, and it snowballs. So the more you win, the more confident you get. The more confident you get, the better you perform. The better you perform, the better you get,
it's a
and it
snowball
just
effect.
keeps
Yeah,
going, right? You might stumble here and there, but if you had like a lot of success, it's easier to bounce back. You know,
you know
you
you're
can bounce
capable
back
deep
fairly
down.
quick. Yeah, you're capable because you've done it before, right?
Hmm,
So
hmm.
you can bounce back, but you can work on your mind game, mental game. You can. There's so much content out there on BJJ mental game, but ultimately, I think nothing replaces training.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. If you are having results in training, you need you need to go through that meat grinder to see if you have the heart and the determination, and that's the difference sometimes in matches is like if you want it more, and the
Yes.
only way you're gonna discover that about yourself is in training. I never listen. I've had conversations before about I was bullied as a kid back home heavily. You know, I was a weird, strange kid in high school. Didn't fit in anywhere.
Hey, you too,
You
eh?
know, and then I discovered martial arts at 17, and what it's done
Yeah.
for me, it's is immeasurable. You can't put a price, you can't put a measure on it. It's been immeasurable, amazing what it has done for me as a human being. But what I've discovered about myself in being in those environments of you know difficulty, harsh, severe difficulty in a combat sport, and to overcome them, nothing gave me more confidence than that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Nothing. First with Muay Thai, being the smallest guy in the room at 148 pounds. That's what I weighed at 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
146, 148 pounds. And to have 190, 180-pound guys, 200-pound guys, like, and we had to spar, and I got beat up. And we had some drills that were not fun. So to overcome that and knowing that through the years where you face your fears and you overcome them in the sense that I don't like getting hit, but I'm not afraid of it.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't like nobody likes getting punched in the face. Nobody
It's
does. I don't
instinctual.
like
It's
getting
like,
punched in the face, but
yeah.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm not scared anymore. I'm not afraid of it. You know,
Hmm.
I've been there, done that a million times. And then with the same thing correlated towards MMA and the same thing correlated towards Jiu-Jitsu, I've been mounted and suffocating for 10 minutes. You know, I've been had my back, I've had my ribs popped, I've had my arm tweaked. Like I've faced all the adversities that you can face in combat sports and jiu-jitsu, MMA and Muay Thai and striking, right? So when you overcome those severe adversities and you just build so much confidence. And when you do it so much and so often, like I said, like you just get to a certain level and a certain skill set where you start to believe you can do great things. So again, everybody's different. Everybody builds that confidence differently. Me, it was through the worst case scenarios,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I loved it. I loved everything about it so much that I took it all in. Whether I was getting beat up or I was having success, I was training. I was doing what I love to do. So I had good days, I had bad days, but nothing ever really discouraged me from going back to training. But again, I guess that's individually. That was just me. Some people maybe need a little bit more encouragement. That's why you need a good coach. And this is something that I've had to learn through the years, as far as like nobody teaches us how to be good coaches, what to say,
Mm-hmm.
how to encourage people. All these like, oh, suck it up, get it back in there, don't be such a wuss, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, that doesn't work for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people need a good talk. Some people maybe like just need to improve a technique, and just by improving that technique, they feel a little bit better. They start to have more success. And again, I go back to the beginning of the conversation. Success results gives you confidence. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are seeing constant improvement, if you are seeing constant improvement in yourself, there's no doubt you're going to feel more and more and more confident.
I think if even if it's like the topic of curriculums in general, if you once a week, once a month, whatever may be, there's some sort of roundtable discussion that you can come to, like a class format, except it's like more like people sit around and talk coffee about this kind of stuff. I think that would actually be huge for a lot of personal development. Obviously, the training is the backbone to developing this grit and this mindset, right? That is the fundamental grit backbone. But even just touching on things like competition etiquette, or like your personal growth, or what you think, like, or like mental hurdles that are like holding you back for like whatever, like be able to get that out on the table is it probably help a lot of people develop a lot faster and give them a lot more guidance and direction, if that makes sense. So in terms of, like, I think
Mm.
this is actually
Well,
a really interesting
there
topic.
there there are like things out there.
Yeah.
I'm not, again, I'm not claiming to be an expert by any means. I'm just
Mhm.
trying my best because I care about my athletes, I care about my fighters, and I try to do the best that I can.
We want to.
Ultimately, technique is king.
Mm-mm.
You know, if you have good technique and a good gas tank, you can do great things. But mentally, everybody's built differently, right? So that's challenging for me as a professor, and a lot of other professors, I'm sure, will say the same. Like, that's the tough part. Sometimes you deal with individuals that are more cerebral. Sometimes you deal with guys that are more physically tough, but maybe not as intelligent when it comes to technique acquisition. So everybody's different, and it's challenging to find the right recipe to give to each individual person. Uh, I think that you have to do a good job where you find that general term that works for everybody,
Mhm.
right? That everybody can get results with, and then you can kind of fine tune each one accordingly afterwards.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so. But there are, like, I know that Gustavo Dantas, who's a he used to be part of the Novo now. I don't think he is anymore, and he does have a bunch of videos online where he just strictly focuses on the BJJ mental game. Um,
Oh,
you
interesting.
know, so look it up. So Gustavo Dantas. I don't know if I can comment on here. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to post. I don't think I am, which is weird.
Hey, let's see.
Um,
I can open up the Facebook feed on my on the monitor. I'll make a comment.
So he's got a YouTube channel that he's got a lot of that. It's called the BJJ Mental Coach.
All right, all right.
Yeah, the BJJ Mental Coach. If you Google that, the BJJ Mental Coach, he goes a lot into like mental game, like pre tournament preparation, during tournament preparation, after tournament analysis. So I think he's the only one that I can think of that really like focuses on that aspect. I'm sure there are others out there that do it, but he's actually like tried to sell it as a program,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, so can you screen
I
share if you find it?
I can. I'm about to, give me 1 second. Just post it on the comments. Search query. Oh no, I think I just put in the search query. God damn it.
Oh, you
Yes.
put a
Here. Here. Let me go. That's a search query. It's not the
right.
actual channel. It's not the actual channel. Here, I got the actual channel coming up right now. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Round two. My computer is slowing down. Here we go. Boom. Here we go. That's the proper thumbnail. Should be.
There
Yeah,
you
there we
go.
go.
People can go check it out.
Otherwise, in terms of screen share, yeah, here. Hold
No, it's all good. We'll have to set up a particular episode where we'll screen share some stuff, and we'll plan it ahead of time.
on. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But
But yeah.
no, I know I spoke to you about before about wanting to start something new
Mhm.
on Saturdays, like a new program. Um, and that's what I really wanted to. I think that's towards the direction that I'm going. You know what I mean? I think that's I want to talk ethics, philosophy, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu history. I really like to go some of these topics. The mental game, right? Psychology of BJJ. And I think that would be, I may not have too many viewers, but it was just, for me, it'd be something of interest that I would want to be discussing and talking about. Um, I think I would like to maybe potentially find another black belt professor that would want to kind of be part of it and bounce back and forth and have a discussion. But we'll
Right.
see. I'm not 100% committed to it yet.
There's a lot to talk about there. Like I can see that being a whole
Edgar,
course.
Edgar, my man. Uh, this friend of yours, when we get back to normal, he needs to set himself or herself up with a really good, consistent training regimen, and really put in some time in drilling and fine tuning. Their A game. I think is a good start.
Well, I mean, mentally strong but technically weak. I mean, I feel like that's just like yeah, consistency and like practice, deliberate practice. Deliberate practice is something that's discussed a lot, especially when people are just like constantly rolling, just hard. If you're just constantly rolling hard and you don't dial in on certain nuances and weaknesses, you get into the echo chamber we were discussing. And breathing
I mean,
techniques, interesting.
yeah, no, definitely. I don't know. You can relate because we went through that breathing class and yoga class with
Mm-hmm.
Florence
Mm-hmm.
last week or the week before.
I see.
Last week,
Okay,
right?
right.
So, and it. I mean, time restraint might be an issue. Like if I have an hour and a half to get my guys training hard for tournaments in a competition class, but if I could spend a few minutes doing some breathing drills, I think it would be super beneficial to the guys. Uh, I just would have to figure out how to implement that, but I think it would be beneficial. I mean, I enjoyed the learning lesson and what I got out of it, and I could see some benefit to it. It's just how do you implement it in a competition context, or do you do a separate class for that and to educate them how to do it? There's something to it for sure, and I plan on looking into it further. For definitely, I'm looking into the that Wim Hof
Breathing
uh,
exercises.
breathing exercises a little bit more and trying to understand how that works. And it's been known for years. This is nothing like new. Uh, it's been known for years and years and years that taking cold showers or having this that idea it really does help. It
Mm-hmm.
helps for healing. It helps for sore muscles. It helps for if you want to have like a good start to your day and kind of have a clearer mind that the cold showers is a good thing. And it's just we're so used to having the luxury of hot water that you know that we're spoiled. But if you can get over it and get accustomed to cold showers, they're great. They're really really good for you.
I can't speak to the cold shower
It's
thing too
just learning
much.
the
Sorry. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
just I want to learn more about the breathing. I thought
Got you.
that was great.
I can't speak to the cold showers too much, but as I'm not gonna lie, after we did that breathing technique, I was skeptical at first, but no, I was actually really surprised with like some of the like whether it's visualization or just calming down and just getting yourself into a clear space of mind, right? There's definitely something like beneficial I hadn't considered before. It's definitely something I would actually want to look into too. I guess it's like this is why people like start like everyone rants and
I
raves about
felt
meditation, right?
I
So similar stuff.
yeah.
What were your thoughts?
Man, I think there's some. I think there's something to that for sure. I
Yeah.
think that uh, just the first the breathing made me feel way more relaxed, and I'm pretty tense all the time.
Mm.
I got a lot of responsibilities. I felt relaxed. I felt more focused. I think if I had to roll right then and there, I would have probably had like a really good roll.
Mm.
Like
Hmm.
after that breathing, if we had to roll, I think I would perform really well.
Right.
Honestly, I felt
Right.
calm, and that's when you perform the best. When your mind is free of clutter, right? So I think there's absolutely some benefit to it, like no doubt. It's
Yeah.
just how do you bring that into an environment, a competition training environment, because everybody talks about the benefits of breathing, but how do we? I need to learn more. I need to learn more, and I need to bring it into the environment, see how people react to it. You know, it's again, it's all about results. If it
Mhm.
helps get results,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still here. Just, it's a phone call. But
if
yeah.
it helps get results, then I'm all for it. You know what I mean?
I just in terms of implementation, I'm not sure. Like, there's probably better ways to refine it or make it a little bit more concise. However, even just doing that before a match, if you're fighting, even like kind of implementing that breathing in between rounds, I could definitely see that kind of being a huge benefit. If you can just like get your mind,
Oh,
dial your
good
mind
point.
back in. Yeah.
E- Excellent point. Excellent point. Well, man, I don't know if you've ever seen me like in between matches when I'm trying to get my guys to do certain breathing, and I try to hold you in a certain position where you're expanding your lungs.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen me do it, where
I
I
have
try to
not. But
bring. I'm usually on one side of the cage of the fence, and then my athletes is on the other side, and I try to like hug their shoulder. Think about it. I go underneath your arms, I hug your
yeah.
shoulders, and I try to flare your arms back, right?
Right. Right.
And that way, and I'm like, look up and breathe. Get
Yeah.
as much oxygen as you can in your lungs,
Yeah.
and breathe calmly and breathe as much as you can. And that goes a long way. And because muscles feed on oxygen, right? And if you're
Hmm.
tired and if you had a tough match and your muscles you're tense, and you know how your forearms and your grips get all messed up,
Yeah.
it's
You
all
can't
about
squeeze anymore.
oxygen intake.
Hmm.
So it's oxygen intake. Breathe heavy, breathe deep, get as much oxygen in your body as you can before your next match. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
And it helps. It helps a lot.
you you're kind of enlightening me on like how much there is in the curriculum that isn't actually strictly BJJ, but in terms of just there's a lot. Yeah, you're right.
Fast,
There's a
right?
whole course here. There's a whole aspect that we just don't touch on because it's not technically like it's not the tangible good stuff, you know. Like we want to be paying for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just these are like life lessons that
Yeah,
come
but
on the way.
if yeah, but
Please.
if this is where I think where jiu-jitsu athletes, I'm not gonna say all, because I think there's some super intelligent BJJ athletes out there, but how they're now more and more and more starting to train like MMA athletes,
Mhm.
right? And if you see MMA athletes, like they'll do anything and everything to try that would give them an edge, right? And they're willing,
Yeah.
like you'll see them, they're willing to do breathing stuff, they're willing to do cryo stuff, they're willing to do yoga, they're willing to try all these other things that will benefit him and give him an edge. I mean, look at GSP, a great example. He went out and started doing gymnastics,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
make him more like,
Athletic. Just
more
yeah.
durable in his positioning, right? So, I think anything that's gonna give you an edge in competition, I think you should consider it.
Mm.
Now, don't close your mind to it. Is what I'm saying. Like, and I this is a regret that I have. Like, and one that I hope to rectify. I really really hope I can find the time. Like I mean it. I really hope I can find the time. And that's yoga.
Mhm.
I the limited amount of times and classes that I've had have always been positive experiences for me, right? And I'm like, man, because back in the day, you're banged up, you're hurt, and you're just more banged up, and the next day you bang up your body some more. I wish there was that it was a more open-minded idea to yoga back then. It wasn't really looked at as something that tough guys did, right? But because I think maybe I would have had more longevity in
Oh, did we lose you? We're getting a little bit of a freeze here.
the sport, I would have
You're
taken
back.
care of my
Yeah.
body a little. Oh, we're back.
Okay, we're back.
So
I hear. Yeah.
I think that's an issue here where, you know, there's got to be a better way to look after your body besides the grind.
Mm.
And there's evidence, that blood flow and stretching, and we have all these tools out there that people are using. It's for a reason, right? Like foam rollers and all this other stuff, right? And it's all about stretching and blood flow and breathing oxygen to the muscles, all for like healing purposes. So the quicker you heal, the more you can train, right? So
I
I
went
think
to yeah.
if you're an athlete, you should keep an open mind.
Mhm. I went to school for production, but in my program there was also a dance stream, and it was very clear like they danced every day. But part of the thing that they built into the programming as a school was like, yeah, prehab. Like it was very common. It wasn't uncommon to see every dancer with like a foam roller or doing some sort of like just some sort of like even the programming was like that was done in a way that they would unwind or like let themselves heal appropriately, if that makes sense. Because the dance program was physically rigorous to say the least. If we could have something like that for jiu-jitsu where it's like the whole like I don't know. Actually, yeah, like an actual academy where you
Yeah.
can like start from grade 1 and finish school and like be like a professional jiu-jitsu practitioner. That would be an interesting feat. I'd like to see. I would like to see it. Like, I'm not sure if it
Like
happened in
like
Canada.
you take courses, right? Could you
Yeah,
imagine if you're like, was it
arm
like a
bars,
college,
arm
like a
bars
jiu-jitsu
101.
college or a jiu-jitsu university, but not quite like the Gracie University, a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
different, where you're
that'd be
taking
unreal.
like several courses. Not only like you go to take courses like even how to like run an academy, so you learn that aspect as well,
Yeah. The business
right?
stream,
So
right? The
you're like
competitive
taking
stream.
business courses, you're taking like like the psychology of coaching athletes,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Sports psychology and all that.
it's
That'd be.
cool. Sports
Yeah.
psychology, yeah. So it'd be good, man. And then you
Open
come
guard.
out with a degree in I don't know, in degree in a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, degree in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, minor in like small business ownership or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd see it. I could see it.
Yeah,
But no.
that's a lot of work.
Otherwise,
That's a lot of work to implement, though.
that's like getting government funding and whatnot. I don't know if there's a national ballet school that's privately funded. I don't see why there couldn't be a national Jiu Jitsu school.
Yes.
Canada would take over. But otherwise, yeah, no. Yeah, man.
We need like some super filthy rich individual to
Yeah.
fall in love with jiu-jitsu and was like, I want to invest millions in it.
And then get it going. Just raise
That'd
a
be
couple UFC
amazing.
champions, 100%.
Let's
Or
just
like,
say, listen, let's just say they got a good thing going. They got a good thing going over in Abu Dhabi, man. They got a good thing going over there, man.
I'm aware of Dagestan doing some crazy stuff for martial arts. What's going on in Abu Dhabi? Like, I know it's a national sport, right?
Well, it's jiu-jitsu is fully funded,
Got you.
and they're just doing camps over there right now, like a massive jiu-jitsu camp, and like they have a huge facility. Everything is covered between training, nutrition, weight training, all this stuff.
Right,
So
right,
it's
right.
crazy, man. And this is like they just had and their national team is fully covered and taken care of. It's crazy. Like they had great results at the last JJF Worlds, and it's hard to. How does Canada compete? Like, yeah, people are training and stuff, and they have academies, but we all know some are better than others, and then we have to have our athletes go down south to have better training. And so it's if they had like a training center for jiu-jitsu for the
Yeah,
national
yeah.
team like judo does, that'd be that would be great,
Dude, I gotta ask
because
then.
that's
Like,
what some of these other countries
yeah.
have. Like for example, I believe the Kazakhstan national team is fully covered. Their
For
Nevaza team or their jiu-jitsu team is like everything is
oh, okay,
paid
okay.
for by the government. So it's
Jeez.
like, man, how do you compete with that? How does Canada compete with that?
Well, actually, you
Right?
actually have the answer to that.
And you
How
can
do we?
see
Yeah.
you and you can see because the Kazakhstan team killed it at the last one. Man. They in 3 years. I was the national coach for 3 years. Like from the first year we saw the Kazakhstan team to the third year, huge difference, massive difference in skill.
What
right?
does so what is Canada dealing with right now? If like they have national facilities and whatnot, and like if you don't mind me asking, like, how is Canada actually doing their thing right now? Like how like if
For
you're
what?
allowed to
For
disclose
jiu-jitsu?
for jiu-jitsu, is
Well,
it
no,
just
we have the standard stuff. You have your qualifiers. You have your national qualifier.
okay.
The winners make the team.
Mhm.
We have a few training sessions together, and then we fly off. We fly off to the worlds and try to do our best.
So it really feels like an individual effort then, like
That's about it.
short of the qualifiers, like
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
qualifiers, yeah, and then there's a couple of team practices. Uh, so
yeah.
I don't know
Well, you
who.
still have your academy and your professors, and you still have your teammates. Well, you still have that, like you know what I mean. That doesn't go away.
But that unified
But
feel of
there's
having a training
definitely there's
center.
definite yeah, yeah. That building
That,
that bond and building that
mhm,
care and that team camaraderie is important. It's
mhm.
important. I try to instill that right away or as soon as I can. That's one of the discussions I have as a coach when I get them together and I explain to them, hey, it's when we are over there. It's not about your academy or your professor. You're representing
So
Canada,
in
and you have to
Canada,
behave as such. And you're basically on the same team for that for the time that we're there. You're all on the same team, so you have
but
to behave
the regional
accordingly.
politics aside, right?